Our next guest this morning, all part of the Green Room's production of Big River, Donovan Harper, who plays Jim, Lucas Kelly is Huck Finn, and Dalton Isaac is the King, half of the duo of the King and the Duke. Big River, of course, if you don't know, based on Huck Finn by the great Mark Twain. Good morning, gentlemen. Glad to have you all here today. Why don't we start with Donovan here? What's your experience leading up to this one?
I've been doing a lot of local and regional shows around here. I was in Green Room's last season production of Guys and Dolls. Mm-hmm. I think that was the last time I was on the show. I do some stuff with Hickory. Just earlier this year, did Much Ado About Nothing up there. And so, it's been real fun being here with this cast of people, Dalton and David and Luke. And we're just... sailing along here.
It's a great role. This one, Jim, in Big River.
Very challenging, but rewarding. Yeah.
And Lucas, same question for you. What's your background prior to this show?
I did theater just locally at Cass Theater up at Granite Falls ever since I was a kid. And the last show I left off with was
Kathy Stallings and Cass.
Yeah. Last show I left off with there was Princess Bride.
Terrific.
Yeah.
We mentioned that earlier when we had Joe Barrett in here earlier this morning. He's our movie guy, and just in the course of the conversation, I happened to mention that I recently read William Goldman's book, The Princess Bride, which is absolutely fabulous. I've loved the movie forever, but I hadn't read the book until recently. Such a great book.
Yeah,
anyway,
I love that.
Yeah.
And I've just been doing stuff at school lately. We put on a production of Thoroughly Modern Millie last year, and we have Phantom of the Opera coming up. But this is my first Green Room production.
Who's doing Phantom?
Fred T. Ford High School.
Okay, cool. So you're a student at Ford?
Yes.
How about you, Donovan? What do you do these days when you're not on stage?
I am actually a student at CVCC, and I also work in a healthcare position for a company, the ARC of North Carolina. But and if I'm not there, I'm on stage. So.
There you go. And Dalton, I mentioned earlier that I know you've done quite a bit, but our audience doesn't necessarily know that. So what are some highlights of your theater experience leading up to this one?
Just some highlights: Hairspray, Anything Goes, Forever Plaid, etc.
Terrific. And what do you do when you're not on stage?
I am a banker by day and a theater geek by night, I guess.
There you go.
My banker.
Donovan's banker by day.
The theater's more fun, but the pay is better in banking, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, tell us, for folks who don't know, I know most people are at least generally familiar with the story of Huck Finn, but tell us a little bit about the play.
It is about a young lad named Huckleberry Finn,
That's me.
Wonderfully played by Lucas, and he's kind of in a place in his life where, everybody around him is trying to teach him how to grow up in societal norms. This is back in 1800s. He's one of those kind of kids that he thinks outside the box. He thinks for himself, and he doesn't always take what society gives him as what's supposed to be. He doesn't take that and go with it. He kind of learns to think for himself. And he comes up and meets a guy, Big Jim, who is a runaway slave of the time. And they basically embark together on this adventure to freedom and, kind of growing up in Huck's Huck's
Life.
Yeah. In Huck's case, I think that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
I appreciate what you said there, because I'm sure you all know that Huckleberry Finn is one of those novels that has been controversial through the years and has been banned from certain school reading lists over time.
Yes.
Because of the perceived racism. And, of course, this is radio and not TV, but I assume that most of you know that Big Jim, of course, as a runaway slave, is an African-American, and as is our guest, Donovan Harper, of course, who plays Big Jim. So
that is true.
Yeah, they can't quite see you through the radio no matter how hard they squint. But it always struck me as well-intentioned but totally wrong-headed that Huck Finn was such a controversial book, because, as you say, it's about Huck's journey to realize how wrong the societal norms are, and how ultimately unjust slavery is, as he forms his friendship and comes to realize that Jim is a man like any other man.
Yes.
So to me, the critics of that book have always, as I say, been well-intentioned, I think, but in the end, mistaken. And I think, if I recall, the play is very faithful to the essential story arc, the storyline of the book.
Very much.
It is very, and we've curbed a little language, just in hopes of not offending anybody, but hopefully with our actions we'll read true, as to the time and everything.
And of course, in the novel, Mark Twain used the N word, and of course, we all know what a hot button topic that is. But of course, that was the common vernacular of the day. You didn't have those conversations without using that word. Unfortunately, that's the way it was. So, Mr. Twain was simply true to the language of his day. So, I'm a big fan of Mark Twain. So I always bristle a little bit at those criticisms. Lucas, and of course, you play Huck Finn, who is the young man who has this sort of awakening. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on the story itself?
Well, I like to say that Huck Finn's kind of a philosopher of the ages, I guess, because he kind of finds his own way of thinking, and he sees the world around him as it really is. And I really admire that, and it's been an honor to play that part because it showed me a lot of things about diversity and people. And
there's also another little part of the story, well, not necessarily a little part, but Huck Finn is the product of an abusive home.
Yes.
His father was not a nice man, and
he
of course,
comes from a alcoholic. His father.
And in the course of the story, Huck's father gets his just desserts. I believe they find his body floating in the river, as I recall.
Yeah, we do.
I guess I should have given a spoiler alert. But that novel's been around for 150 years. So.
If you haven't read it by now, it's your fault.
But yeah, it's a show that it's a great honor to do, and it really makes you think a little bit whenever you're in the moment and actually enacting that story that Huck Finn goes down the river on.
And even though it is 150 years old, not the play, but the novel, it's still very timely. I think issues of race and abusive homes and all of that still very much in the news and very much, unfortunately, still a part of our lives. So, you open 1 week from today. Tell us a little bit about the run of the show and how long it'll run and when people will have the opportunity to catch Big River at the Green Room.
Well, we open on September 11th. That's next Friday, and we run to the 27th.
3 weekends.
Yes, 3 weekends.
And of course, this is at the beautiful old post office playhouse in downtown, just off the courthouse square in downtown Newton. Incredibly wonderful facility, and directed by Sylvia Schnopel, who has directed so many musicals at the Green Room and always does a wonderful job with musical direction by Christopher Lawing. So tell us a little bit about the rest of your cast.
Big cast. We have
it's a big cast.
We have a lot of people on, but it's got a lot of energy. It's one of those shows that, a lot of fun music. I've never gone to see that show and not left without singing at least 3 songs, three of the songs in a loop for the next couple days. So, people really have a good time with this.
It is a fun show. People may get the wrong impression. We were talking earlier about the aspect of racism and, of course, the child abuse and the alcoholic father. And
it's part of the story.
It's a funny show.
Let us reiterate, Mark Twain.
Exactly. He's a funny guy. And while Mr. Twain was always brilliant in touching on some important and timely issues, he always did it with an incredible amount of humor, and that shines through in the play. It's a good, fun play that actually does have something to say. It's not just fun fluff, but it is fun. It is entertaining.
Yes.
Well, guys, are you excited? It's a week away, man.
We're getting there.
Yeah, well, definitely excited. Just trying not to lose any hair over it.
Yeah. Well, I've done theater, and look what happened to me.
Sign of things to come.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, it's a little stressful, but...
And of course, you're coming up on what generally in theater is known as Hell Weekend. With it's that for those who don't know, the weekend before you open is Tech Weekend, when you put in lights and the orchestra and try to run everything in dress rehearsals exactly as it'll go in performance.
Definitely.
And we emphasize try because it doesn't always go exactly that way. But it makes for some long days and some long nights, and everybody's thoroughly exhausted by the time opening night rolls around.
Yes. Well, ready for that completely.
Good, and you guys have all done enough shows that it's not always the same. Sometimes you go into Tech Weekend and that final week, and boy, you're really scrambling, and things are late coming together. Other times you're, as you say, in a good place, and things are a lot more solid, and it's always very comforting. Mm-hmm. In either case, it usually works out, even when things are coming coming together at the last minute, and you wonder, oh my goodness, are we ever going to get it done?
Yeah.
But it's just a little more calming, I think, when everything's well organized and it all comes together on schedule the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
On those rare occasions when that actually happens. Terrific. Well, we appreciate all your time. Appreciate you guys getting up early and coming to talk with us this morning. Our guests have been Donovan Harper, who's playing Jim in Big River. Lucas Kelly is Huck Finn, and Dalton Isaac is the King, one half of the duo of the King and the Duke. Those are fun roles, aren't they?
They are very fun.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, we appreciate it. Once again, the show opens 1 week from today, September 11th, at the old Post Office Playhouse in downtown Newton, and it'll run for 3 weekends. You can go to the Green Room's website. I don't remember the exact address.
Greenroomtheater.org.
Greenroomtheater.org, and you can get all the details right there. Guys, you have a great weekend and break a leg.
Thank you.
Ralph.